stick is going to be, and this is a bit of a controversial choice on the underrated bands. A lot of people put these on the overrated scale. Radiohead.
You've kind of more recently gone on quite a big Radiohead dive, haven't you? I think you've really started getting into them quite a lot at the moment, getting all their albums on vinyl and stuff. That did encourage me to get one myself. I listened to the Bends, and for the most part, I quite enjoyed it. They seem to me like a musician's band and a bit of an artist's artist in a way. People who are really like clued up on their music, and musicians themselves seem to really love and appreciate the band. But I do think at the same time they do seem to have a pretty huge fan base. You know, they've done stuff like headline Glastonbury Festival and the likes as well. So I don't quite agree that. I think I'd probably say they were like perfectly rated, but your it's in your corner, man. You fight their battle for them, please.
Okay, so my take on it, I've always been a Radiohead fan, and I have gotten into them massively in the years since. They're one of those bands that they have a very elitist almost fan base. They are a band for musicians, so they're commonly known for their 90s. The three albums, like you said, The Bends was the second album. They're commonly known for the three albums that they released in the 90s, which are the radio-friendly albums.
Yeah.
And it got less and less radio-friendly as it went on. Paranoid, Android, and OK Computer. The OK Computer album is lauded as like one of the best albums ever written, and to some degree, possibly overrated. They know what they're doing. They make really good music. They hit a peak. I think Tom York had something of a mental breakdown, couldn't deal with what was going on. After all of that, released Kid A, which is, as I'm a big fan of electronic music, and Kid A is an electronic album. They redefined their fan base. They redefined their entire music by completely changing genres at the peak of their powers, and they killed it. Kid A is one of my favourite albums, if not my favourite album of all time. It sends me to a different place. They're not everyone's cup of tea. They are absolutely a musician's band. They make music for music people. And Tom York has obviously gone on to do that with The Smile as well. The In Rainbows album that they released, just they kept evolving and redefining their style and changing what they were doing, production-wise as well. But I think what's even more impressive is when you delve into it and go, yeah, Radiohead have some good songs, and then some of their albums you need to listen to about 3 or 4 times before you start getting it. The way the songs are written, they're not conventional. There's some drum patterns that almost don't make sense. They're difficult to play along with. They're really hard to play along with. And then some stuff's really easy. And the chord progressions where the chords jump to doesn't make sense. It's all so well, cleverly written, but it doesn't always hit people's musical palates. Like I said, music for musicians. What really hits you, though, is when you see them live. I've not seen them live in person, but if you look at their live footage, they play very difficult music to play effortlessly. They make stuff that is very hard and very difficult to play, especially as an ensemble, incredibly easy. They make it look so easy. And Tom York switches instruments. He sings while he's playing some complicated riffs. It's incredible to watch, and I admire them. And the more you delve into the Radiohead rabbit hole, the worse it gets, or the better it gets. But that's all I'll say on it. But I think for a band that are so popular and have such an avid fan base, I still think their musical ability is ridiculously underrated.
I think I would agree to a certain point on the fact of, like, considering how popular and how much of a household name they are. I think a lot of people who listen to the certain parts of their discography, it's kind of like, if you can imagine, like the iceberg, like they're very surface water on their discography. Like from my experience, I've only really heard of what gets played on the radio. So Creep, obviously, and then the likes of like High and Dry and not Paranoid, Karma Police and stuff like that.
All great songs.
I picked up that Benz album. I listened to it and I was like, I enjoyed that. There was a couple of songs that I really liked. I went, this this song's amazing. I love that. I think the problem I've with them and some artists like that is I'm not the biggest arty-farty fan. Like, as you say, when they go into all these complex music writing techniques and skills and stuff like that, that's all well and good, but for me, it's like, is the hook still there? Is this still catchy? Is this still something I'm going to enjoy listening? Or am I just sitting there trying to appreciate the chord he's just played, or the drum pattern, or the time signature and stuff like that? I think stuff like that isn't very accessible to your average kind of, music listener or enjoying stuff like that. They do bring a level of kind of elitism to them, as you say. Like, I think to even an extent they're somewhat gatekept sometimes. You definitely have a point on the terms of they're underrated, and their later catalogue is underrated, and I would probably say their kind of spin-off side, next project, The Smile, as you brought up, is definitely underrated, because until you brought them up to me, I'd never heard of them before. I think that's kind of where I stand there.
Yeah, they also had the look of, like I said, when they changed their style, they were under a record label. They were under, at the time, I think it was like EMI, and they afforded them the ability to completely change their sound and not sacrifice, anything from a financial standpoint from a record company. Yeah. And they've always worked with the producer, Nigel Godrich. They've done everything with him. So he's always been described as like the sixth member of Radiohead. So they've had that as well. They've had that level of consistency. I don't know. Like I said, there is the issue that if the fan base can be regarded as elitist, and the word genius gets bandied about, especially in music, far too often. And I'm not going to use it, but I'm going to say that if I was to use it and throw it about, Radiohead will come damn close.
As I say, I agree in some bits, and other bits I kind of don't, because I do think they are a household name. But do you want to hit us with another band, please?